On the day I turned 80, my family gave me a gift. It did not come wrapped in paper or tied with a ribbon. It was a stack of legal documents and a pen. They wanted me to sign my name, to hand over my home, my savings, everything Walter and I had built together. I looked at my only son, Jason, the boy I once held with trembling hands in a hospital room, and I said no. The smile vanished from his face. His voice hardened, sharp and cold. He called me confused, said I did not understand what was best for me, and when I still refused, he raised his hand. The sound of the slap echoed in the quiet study. My cheek burned, but my mind had never been clearer. They thought that strike had broken me. They were wrong. Because years ago, my husband Walter had planned for this moment. He had always seen the storm before I did. And all I had to do was make one phone call to a number they never even knew existed. That call did not just change everything, it ended them. There is a quiet dignity to a house that has seen a lifetime of memories. My home in Savannah breathes with history, each wall carrying echoes of laughter, love, and loss. The wooden floors still creak the same way they did when Jason took his first steps. The faint scent of Walter's roses lingers in the garden, the same ones he planted for our 40th anniversary. Every inch of this place holds a piece of our story. When I decided to host my 80th birthday, I wanted something simple, family laughter, nothing more. I paid for the catering, the 3-tiered cake, even the champagne they insisted on. It was my way of feeling surrounded by love again, of filling the house with warmth after so many quiet nights alone. But that afternoon, as sunlight filtered through the lace curtains, I noticed something unsettling. Jason and his wife Sloane stood apart from the others, whispering in the corner. Their eyes didn't carry affection or gratitude. They moved through my home like surveyors, studying each piece of furniture, every wall, as though planning renovations. I tried to push the feeling aside. I wanted to believe the day was still about celebration, but beneath the sound of clinking glasses and polite laughter, I could already hear the first tremor of something breaking. The moment came just after the candles were blown out. The guests clapped, the children laughed, and for a fleeting second, I thought maybe I had imagined the tension. But as the applause faded, Jason stepped forward with a leather folder in his hands instead of a gift. "Mom," he said, smiling too widely, "before things get too late, there's something important we should go over. Just a few papers we need you to look at." I hesitated, the chill in his tone cutting through the warmth of the room. "Jason, it's my birthday. Can't this wait until tomorrow?" Sloane slid beside him, her manicured hand resting on my arm. "Laura, please don't be difficult. Jason is only trying to make things easier for you. It's for your own good." That phrase again. The one they always used when they wanted to get their way. I followed them into Walter's old study, a room filled with his books and quiet wisdom. Jason placed the folder on the desk and opened it with the confidence of someone who believed victory was guaranteed. He spoke like a salesman. "This is just a simple power of attorney, Mom. It'll make managing your affairs easier, take some pressure off you." As he talked, I remembered the first time I let him help giving him access to my bank account for emergencies. The next week, there were photos online of their Caribbean vacation. Another time, Sloane took Walter's watch for safekeeping. I looked at them now and realized none of it had been thoughtless. It had all been leading to this. They weren't helping me. They were finishing what they started. Jason kept talking, his words polished and rehearsed, but I no longer heard them. My eyes were fixed on the stack of papers, the thick legal font, the signature line waiting for my name. I took a slow breath and asked one question. "Does this give you the power to sell the house?" For a moment the room froze. Then, in a glance shared between Jason and Sloane, I saw the answer. It was only a second, but it told me everything. Jason forced a smile. "Sell the house? Of course not, it's just to protect you, Mom. To keep everything safe and in the family." "In the family," I repeated softly. "My family. The same family that saw me as a burden to be managed, a vault to be opened." I pushed the folder back across the desk. "No," I said, simply and clearly. Jason's face twisted. "Mom, stop being ridiculous. We're not asking you, we're telling you. This is what's happening." "You have no right," I replied, keeping my voice steady. Sloane stepped closer, her tone sharp. "We take care of everything for you. You owe us this." "I owe you nothing," I said. Jason's control snapped. He grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the desk. "You're not walking away from me." I looked into his eyes, my son's eyes, and saw only greed. "Take your hand off me, Jason." He didn't. Instead, his hand came up. The slap landed hard, echoing through the study like a gunshot. For a long moment there was only silence. The room seemed to hold its breath. I did not cry. I did not speak. I simply stared at my son, the sting on my cheek burning into my memory like a brand. Then I turned and walked away. I climbed the stairs slowly, one hand on the banister Walter had built with his own hands. Each step felt heavier than the last, but inside me something solid was forming a cold, unshakable clarity. In my bedroom mirror, the reflection of an old woman stared back at me, the red mark across her cheek raw and vivid. But for the first time in years, I didn't see weakness. I saw truth. That mark was a gift, the proof of everything I had ignored for too long. I crossed the hall into Walter's study. His scent still lingered there, cedarwood, old paper, and the faintest trace of tobacco. It had always been his sanctuary, and now it would be mine. I ran my fingers along the carved edges of his heavy oak desk. Beneath the right side, my fingertips found a tiny ridge. I pressed gently, and with a soft click, a hidden drawer slid open. Inside was a single envelope sealed with wax and a small business card resting on top. In Walter's handwriting were the words, "For Laura if they ever turn." My breath caught. Walter had seen this coming. He always did. I broke the seal with steady hands. Inside was a short note and a name, Thomas Keaton. Below it, a phrase one recognized instantly: Redwood Protocol. The note ended with one instruction: he will ask for the name of our honeymoon ship. Answer it, and he will know it's time. The house was silent when I picked up the phone. My fingers didn't tremble as I dialed the number printed beneath Thomas Keaton's name. It rang only once before a calm, steady voice answered. Keaton and Associates. "This is Laura Benton," I said quietly, Walter Benton's widow. There was a pause, then the voice softened. "Miss Benton, I've been expecting your call. May I ask for verification? What was the name of the ship you took on your honeymoon?" "The Silver Horizon," I replied. "Very good," he said, his tone shifting into focus. "Then it's time. The Redwood Protocol will activate immediately." He spoke with precision, explaining each step. All discretionary accounts under Jason and Sloane's access would be frozen by morning. Their names removed from every authorization list. Control of the Benton Family Trust would transfer entirely to me, managed under his office for protection. "You don't need to speak with them again," Mr. Keaton said gently. "We'll handle the rest." I closed my eyes, exhaling a breath I didn't know I had been holding. The ache in my chest began to ease. For the first time that night, I felt safe. Walter had seen the storm long before I did, and now the fortress he built was holding strong. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, golden and warm, as if nothing had happened. But the silence in the house was different now. It wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. I made myself a cup of tea and waited. At 9:15, the first call came. Jason's voice crackled through the line, sharp and impatient. "Mom, something's wrong with the credit card. It was declined at the gas station. Did you forget to pay the bill again?" I took a slow sip of tea before answering. "I don't handle the bills anymore, Jason. You'll need to contact Mr. Thomas Keaton. He's managing everything now." There was a stunned pause. "Who?" he demanded. "What are you talking about?" "I've retained legal counsel," I said calmly. "He'll explain." Then I hung up. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Sloane messages pouring in one after another, filled with typos and half-finished sentences. Panic in digital form. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Walter's plan was working perfectly. The Redwood Protocol wasn't just protection, it was separation. The trust would continue to pay for my home, my expenses, my life. But every account tied to Jason or Sloane was now sealed behind legal walls they could never breach. I stood by the window, watching the garden sway in the morning breeze. The war had ended, and the fortress was mine. By mid-afternoon, I heard the sound of tires screeching outside. I looked through the lace curtains and saw Jason's car parked crookedly across my front lawn. Both doors flew open, and he and Sloane stormed toward the porch, faces twisted with panic and fury. The pounding on my front door rattled the frame. "Mom, open this door right now," Jason shouted. "What did you do? The bank says everything's frozen. You can't do this to us." I walked calmly to the door but did not unlock it. I slid the security chain into place and opened it just a few inches. Through the narrow gap, I could see them clearly, their anger, their fear, their disbelief. "You took everything from us," Sloane cried, her voice cracking. "We'll lose the house. We'll lose everything." I met her eyes through the small opening. "No," I said softly. "You took everything from yourselves." Jason's tone shifted, desperate now. "Mom, please, we can fix this. Just call whoever you talked to and tell them it was a mistake." "This is no longer in my hands," I replied. "You may speak with my lawyer, Mr. Keaton." Before either of them could say another word, I closed the door. The chain rattled once, then silence fell heavy on the other side. 4 days later, I received a call from Mr. Keaton's office. His voice was as calm as ever. "Mrs. Benton, it's time to finalize matters. I've summoned Jason and Sloan to attend as well." When I arrived, the law office felt like another world, quiet, dignified, the air filled with the faint scent of old paper and polished wood. I took a seat beside Mr. Keaton at the long mahogany table. Moments later, Jason and Sloan were shown in. They looked smaller than I remembered, pale, anxious, and stripped of the arrogance they once wore like armor. Jason didn't look at the lawyer. He looked at me. "Mom, please. This has gone too far. We made a mistake, all right? We're family. We can fix this. Just tell him to stop whatever this is." I didn't answer. I had heard those words before, always after the damage was done. Mr. Keaton cleared his throat. "Let me be perfectly clear," he began. "The Redwood Protocol is irrevocable. Due to the incident of September 8th and the supporting evidence, both Jason and Sloan Benton are permanently removed as beneficiaries of the Benton Family Trust." Sloan scoffed. "An incident? It was just a family argument. You can't destroy our lives over that." Without a word, Mr. Keaton reached into a folder and slid a single photograph across the table. It was the one I had taken in the mirror that night, the red mark on my cheek, plain and undeniable. His tone never changed. "The trust defines duress clearly. This qualifies." Jason stared at the photo, his face drained of color. I saw it then, the moment he realized it was truly over. There was no shouting, no defense left to make, just silence, heavy and final. The weeks that followed passed quietly for me, but for Jason and Sloan, everything began to crumble. I didn't have to witness it to know. The news reached me in fragments through neighbors, distant cousins, and whispered phone calls. Their car was the first to go, repossessed in the middle of the night. The house they had flaunted for years, with its grand staircase and imported chandeliers, went up for sale soon after. But no one wanted to buy a property so tangled in unpaid loans and rumors. They were forced to sell it far below what they owed. The whispers spread quickly in Savannah's small circles. People they had once called friends avoided them. Dinner invitations disappeared. Jason's so-called business and network of half-truths and borrowed money collapsed completely once the trust funds stopped feeding it. One afternoon, my old friend Ruth called. She had seen Sloan working behind the checkout counter at a gourmet market she used to shop at. Her voice was quiet when she said, "She looked right through me, Laura. Like she didn't even recognize who she used to be." I thanked Ruth but said nothing more. There was nothing to celebrate, no satisfaction to savor. Their downfall wasn't my victory. It was the natural weight of truth, pulling them back to the ground they had chosen to forget existed. About 6 months later, a letter arrived in my mailbox. The handwriting was shaky but unmistakable, Jason's. For a long moment, I simply stared at it, unsure whether to open it or let it vanish into the trash unread. But curiosity, or maybe closure, won. Inside were several pages of rambling words. He wrote about how hard things had become, about the business failures, about sleepless nights and bills he couldn't pay. He blamed bad luck, dishonest partners, even the economy. But nowhere in those lines did I find the one thing that mattered. There was no apology, not a single word about the night he raised his hand against me. He ended with a plea, "Maybe we can start over, Mom. Maybe you could help us just one last time." I folded the pages neatly, then carried them to the fireplace. As the flames caught, the paper curled, blackened, and lifted into ash. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even sad. I was cleaning the last trace of their chaos, leaving my home as smoke. A year has passed since that night, and my life feels light again. The house that once echoed with tension now hums with quiet peace. Morning sunlight pours through the windows, and the air smells of roses, Walter's roses, blooming stronger than ever. I've filled the empty rooms not with regrets but with life. A bright young graduate student named Claire rents the upstairs rooms. Her laughter drifts down the hall like music. My friend Ruth visits twice a week for tea, and sometimes we sit on the porch, watching the neighborhood children play beneath the oak trees. In the afternoons, I tend to the garden. I plant new flowers beside the old ones, letting them intertwine new roots with deep ones. Soon, I'll take the trip Walter and I always planned, back to Portugal, to the town where we found those beautiful blue tiles so many years ago. I sleep soundly now. The fear is gone. In its place there is peace, quiet and complete. If my story has taught me anything, it's that strength doesn't always sound like shouting. Sometimes it's a calm voice saying one small word no. To anyone watching who has felt pressured, silenced, or made to doubt your own mind, please remember this: you are not powerless. Age doesn't erase your rights, and love doesn't mean surrender. 3 things saved me. First, documentation: every detail, every account, every word written down. Second, preparation: Walter's planning became my protection when my courage finally met his foresight. And third, boundaries: the courage to draw a line and never step back over it. If you ever sense someone trying to control your life under the guise of helping, speak up, seek advice, and don't sign anything you don't understand. There are people and laws meant to stand beside you. Your dignity isn't a debt you owe anyone. Protect it. Protect it. Guard it. It is the most valuable inheritance you will ever have. My peace is my inheritance now, the legacy Walter truly meant for me to have. Not the money, not the house, but the freedom to live without fear. If you've ever had to fight for your own peace, tell me where you're watching from in the comments below. I want to know how far stories like mine can travel. And if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Together we can remind the world respect has no expiration date.